Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell, and I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I am the owner of Maxwell's fitness programs, and I've been in business since 1994. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the real deal of what really works, and most importantly, why things work. Hence the name, There Is a Method to the Madness. Before I get to today's show, I want to thank Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They are committed to providing the highest level of customer service in home sales. Why don't you give them a shout and figure out what your home is worth? 386-451-2412.
We still have to put in the reps. No question about it. We got to put in the work. We got to put in the time. And that's what I'm going to talk about today. So if you read my new book, which hopefully you have, I go over my 10 Max Fit rules or Max Fit commandments. You know, they're things that I've talked about for years. And as I've always said, and one of the commandments is there's many right ways to exercise. Just don't do the wrong thing, because there are wrong ways to do things. So there's many, many good philosophies out there. There's many, many good workout programs. There's many, many good gyms, trainers. So there's just a lot of good ways to do things. And what I've found through the years is that there are certain guidelines and principles, though, that really remain consistent as far as what I've seen. And so anyway, I list 10 of them. And one of them is quality is greater than quantity, or make sure you're always thinking about quality. And that's absolutely true. Now, qualitative things are harder to measure. They're in the form of good, bad versus something very tangible that you can measure and see. So it's a little harder to, pinpoint when we are focusing on quality. But I think we also know quality versus poor quality. And, mostly what I'm talking about when it comes to that is quality training, which means make sure that we're using the greatest load we can use, make sure we're using the greatest form that we can use, make sure if we're doing cardio that it's the type of cardio that best benefits us, that we're also thinking about form, that we're also thinking about intensity. I mean, there's no question about it, the value of quality. But what I want to talk about to you today is quantity matters too. You can't get to quality if you don't have the quantity. So you have to put in the work. You have to do the reps. And there is something very, very releasing about that, right? There is for me. I'm a checklist keeper. I'm a calendar keeper, all those types of things. I also have enough experience to know that those things can change and should change some days. But there is a lot of peace of mind in knowing that we have set out what we need to do and we are striving to do that. So I really, really do believe that there's a big benefit in knowing what reps we need to do and what reps we do. So, there's one thing I mean, there's a lot of things I like about Arnold Schwarzenegger. Like, he's from the old Muscle Beach. So there's a little bit of a old school muscle head in him, and I don't know that he knows the science and exercise and diet very, very well. But he also admits that, which is why he has a staff. But, one thing he's always talked about that I agree with 100% is he says, you gotta put in the reps. And for him, when he worked out, it was kind of a little cool method that he used. He would put up his workout on a chalkboard. Like, I don't even know if he kept track of it in a journal. I'm not really sure. Probably did, because I think most of those guys did. But I know he wrote the workout out on a chalkboard. We're talking 70s and 80s. So yeah, they still had chalkboards. And he would write out the exercises and then how many reps he was supposed to do. And then as he would do the sets, he would go off and check it off. Like, he would check it off of his list. And, I always thought that was pretty cool. And when his chalkboard was finished, he was finished. So it was a way for him to keep track and to know that he is doing enough work. I really think there is huge value in that. And knowing like what the reps are that we need to do. I mean, the bottom line is none of us are going to get better at anything unless we put in the work. About 10 years ago, maybe it was longer, and people still talk about it. It's been discounted a little bit, but people still talk about it. The 10,000 hour rule, so to say, that to become an expert, you had to put in 10,000 hours, and allegedly somebody calculated that and figured that out to be the right amount of time to be an expert. So like I said, I think the exact number has been disputed a little bit, but there is no question to be great at what you do or good or improve, you have to put in the reps, right? I mean, the epitome of entitlement is thinking that we are going to get something that we don't work for, right? I mean, that's not going to work. I promise you, in the world of physical fitness, it's pretty darn fair. You are going to get out of it what you put into it. So if you do the repetitions, you're going to get out of it the exact amount that you put into it. When I was in college, I think I've talked about this before. I mean, I know I have. I think I've covered it in the podcast, but I had a rep system that I would do with studying. For me, it was really, really important to make really good grades. Did I take it too far? Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I probably did, but I was not a great student in high school. Like, essentially, I could care less at that stage in my life. I mean, I shouldn't say I could care less. I did what I had to do to get by, but I never really saw myself as a scholar, didn't have the confidence. But once I really got college, like once I decided I really wanted to go and commit myself, well, then I was like bound and determined, at this stage of my life, if, you got to be the best. So I was like bound and determined to make the best grades I could make, which for me were A's. And I was really locked in on doing that. And I was going to do whatever it took to get an A in every class. And I almost did. I mean, I graduated with honors, graduated magna cum laude in college. And then in my graduate school, I did have a perfect 4.0 GPA. I don't know if I'm bragging. It may sound that way, but I'm not. I mean, it was really because I put in the work. I mean, I just really put in the work, and that's the whole point of me telling you this story. So I would make sure that I would study for an allotted amount of time per class. Most of my college career, I was full-time student and working full-time, so it wasn't easy. My senior year, I didn't work. That was the only year I didn't. And so I didn't have a lot of time in the day, but I did make sure that I studied every day for a certain amount of time for every class. And like, that was the reps that I would put in. So it was like, if I had a history class or whatever, history, I don't know, physiology, psychology, like each class was going to be split up among a certain amount of time that I would spend no matter what. Like, even if I was never a crammer, and probably one of the reasons why I did really well, I was never a crammer. I always studied early. I got ahead of it. Literally the first day of class, I would open up and literally read the syllabus as part of the homework. My own homework I set for myself. Like my teachers didn't have to discipline me at that stage. I was setting my own discipline. So I would literally read the syllabus and at least like thumb through the first chapter or whatever we were supposed to read. And by the time it got even close to exam time, I was really ready because no matter what, I studied a little bit every day, even in the beginning. And that didn't change. Like as the course continued on, I didn't need to spend more time on a particular course because I was caught up. So that was the reps that gave me a peace of mind. So if I knew I did that, then I felt good and I can do whatever else I wanted to. Now at that time, and it continued through, it was also very important for me to work out. So I was going to put in my reps there as well. Like, I was bodybuilding pretty seriously at the time. So if I was heading into what we called the Dome, which was a dumpy gym at UCF, University of Central Florida at the time. I mean, now they have these beautiful different health and fitness centers all over the campus. I mean, we literally had a place that was called the Dome, and I do not think it had AC. And it literally was a dome-style building out by the basketball court. Like, that's what we had to train with. I mean, I shouldn't complain. We had something. And had old Universal machines in there, which we're talking, they predated Nautilus, and then some free weights, but whatever. If I was going to go in that day and say do back and biceps, I would have it written out or spelled out somewhere in my brain or on paper of the exercises I was going to do, the sets and the reps. So I had the quantity written down, and I knew in order for me to have a good day, at least psychologically, then I would need to do my reps. Now, qualitative was always a part of it for me anyway. I always wanted to do the best that I could on my sets and use the most intensity that I could. But ultimately, I went into it knowing that I was going to have to do the reps, and I would do whatever it took to finish them at the time. As I've gotten older and more experienced and into my career.
Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Are you ready to unlock your full potential? I want to introduce you to the Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, a powerful resource to transform your life today. With expert interviews, practical tips, and inspiring stories, this podcast is your roadmap to lasting wellness. Here's what a listener has to say.
I used to struggle with my health, but this podcast changed everything. It's like having a personal trainer, nutritionist, and life coach totally for free.
With over 2,000 five-star reviews, we're a podcast you can trust. The Fit, Healthy, and Happy podcast, available now wherever you get your podcasts.
I would say that form has gotten even better and improved quite a bit, but it never changed the fact that I had to do the reps then. I have to do the reps now. As we get smarter, as we get more experienced, we figure out where should those reps go? Because obviously you've picked up on the fact that reps aren't just the reps in the gym. They're everything that we need to do. So we're not going to get better unless we do the work. And I guess the real hard part is not too hard, but the work you have to do is to figure out exactly what reps it is that you need to put in, but then make sure that you do it. So I'm taking piano. I started that a few years ago. A great coach named Natalie. She works with me remotely. She's a piano teacher. She actually plays violin and all kinds of instruments, but she teaches piano, and I do that remotely with her. And all my lessons started out that way. And I have to put in the reps. I mean, pretty much every time we meet, in the beginning, we went over the very, very basics. And I'm still very, very basic. But I mean, now it's at a point where we'll do a new song, and she'll have me do my right hand first, right hand only, and we go through it. And if that goes fairly smoothly, then we'll go left hand, which is typically the chord hand, and go all the way through it. And then if that's good, we go both hands together and go through the song. And, she's taught me how to read music, which I think is really cool. But then, the session's somewhere around 30 minutes. So That's not enough to master the song, of course. And then during the week, I'm supposed to do the reps. I mean, I got to sit down and at least 10 minutes a day, she says, and that's great advice, because what ends up happening is I end up spending more time. But for 10 minutes at least, I'll sit down and I'll go through this song just like that, doing my reps. Right hand first. If that's smoothly and I got it, I at least understand what the notes are and the moves, because you got to move your hand up, move your hand down type of thing. And then I'll do the left, the chord hand. And if that's all good, then I'll put them together. Then as the weeks go, or as the week go, I should say, and I'm doing my reps, it gets to the point where I'll jump right in and play both hands together, and I'll play the song through a few times. And, if I'm learning it, if I'm really getting it, then I try to master it more. I try to be able to do it maybe a little bit faster or practice areas. I'll send her a video and she'll say, well, you kind of like, it's with me, the mistakes I typically make would be with timing. So she'll say that, I sped up here or I slowed down here type of thing. And then I'll go back through. But I've been able to learn, at least to the point where I can play some songs and some songs that I enjoy, because I put in the reps. I mean, I'm not going to learn how to play the piano by taking a lesson and then staring at the piano the rest of the week, right? I mean, it's a pretty big instrument and sits in the middle of one of the main rooms. I mean, I'm not going to get better by walking by it, I'm going to actually have to do the work. And I enjoy the work, so like with that, it's a great example of everything that we learn to do, we put in the reps. And what I want to ask you is, are you willing to do that? Like, I am a person that really pushes quality. No question about it, especially when it comes to form. I mean, to me, there's not a reason to get out of good form. There's just not a reason, other than you don't know, so that's ignorance, or, you're just so hell-bent on doing it the way that you want to do it. But I mean, to me, that's like so silly, and that's not ignorance at that point. That's just ego. But there's no good reason to do exercises with bad form. There's just no good reason for that. So that goes without saying. But, there are days that we don't feel like giving it 100% intensity. I mean, I'll go through those days. I'll think to myself, so, pull-ups. Pull-ups are one of the greatest exercises there are. I love them in a way. I mean, I love the results of them. I love the challenge of them. But pull-ups are probably the hardest thing I do in my workouts. And I think to myself, oh man, I want to be able to knock out 3 sets of 10 with only a minute in between, And if you've done pull-ups or whatever, that like, that's hard. I mean, you can do 10. I mean, that's hard to do 10, but you can do 10 and then, rest and go right back at it. It's hard to do it again. So for me, I'll look at days like that and go, oh man, not today. Like maybe, later in the week when I feel more energetic and I work out on this area again, I'll attempt that. But today I don't have the mental energy for that. So I'm still going to do the reps though. Like, I'm not going to not do it. I just may not do it with as much intensity, right? I may do 3 sets of 5 instead of 3 sets of 10, whatever, something like that. Or probably more likely do pull downs in replace of pull-ups so I can manipulate the weight and still do the reps. So like, that's just one example. But the point is that we should always do the work. I mean, it's not always going to be with maximum intensity. But if you went to the gym and let's say your trainer has you doing, or you have yourself doing 7 exercises, I mean, that's pretty standard if you're doing multiple sets or whatever. So say 7 exercises and you're doing 3 sets of a muscle group and maybe you're doing 10 to 12 reps. I mean, then do it. Like, put in the work with as much focus as you have and as much intensity as you have. But again, the intensity can waver a little bit. and that's okay. But definitely with as much focus as you have and use as good a form as you can, putting in the work really, really matters. And the same goes for cardio. You may wake up some days and you know you're supposed to go for a 30-minute walk, or you put that in your calendar to put in the reps the next day for your 30-minute walk. So you know that's like ideally the way you wanted to start your morning, start your day. I mean, if you go out and do it, you are going to feel so much better than if you skipped. And maybe you don't have the same energy you had last time you did it, the day before or whatever. But if you still do it, you are still getting the benefits. I promise you, and it's on my list of Max Fit commandments. Consistency is number one. I mean, there are people out there that we call weekend warriors, or people that start out with all the piss and vinegar that they can muster. And, they'll tell me, I used to work out, so really push me. And, I want to come every day, and I got the money, and, and on the weekends, I want to do this, I want to do this. And I'm always shaking my head going, oh boy, this person is going to flame out. Most likely they're not going to stick to it because there's just too much intensity in the beginning, and you wonder where all that is coming from. And the problem with that is it doesn't work. I mean, yeah, if somebody can sustain it, great, but most of the time that's just not sustainable. But the person who's willing to do enough on a regular basis is going to be the person that wins the race, so to say. Like, it's really the consistency that matters. Getting up day in, day out, doing the reps, whatever they might be, even if you don't feel like it, doing it anyway, and putting in the work, you're going to get the benefits. It's the person that is willing to be consistent day in and day out, not just when the mood strikes them, or not just when the environment is favorable, or not just when their friend shows up, or not just when, that certain instructor is working, but the person that shows up all the time and puts in the work is going to be the one that gets the benefits. And that's really where the consistency and the reps come in. Maybe the reps you need to do is to work on that diet. Like, maybe you finally started listening to me and you realize that, yes, you're getting more fit. Yes, you're getting stronger. But if you want to get that weight where you need it, you're going to have to put in the work with the diet. I mean, I've always said that all of that is 80%. I mean, the diet is 80% of that. Like, you can exercise all you want, but if you're not working on that diet, you're not going to get that weight where you want it. And the way we put in the reps with that is going to be, say, logging our food in a food app like MyFitnessPal or an equivalent. Like, that's putting in the reps day in and day out. It can be tedious. It can, be a pain sometimes. Like, you don't know how to find the food or the right measurement, or it's just a pain in the butt, but it works. And if you're willing to do it, day in and day out, you're going to see the trends that you do. You're going to see where you're inconsistent. You're going to see where you're eating too much. You're going to see when you're consuming too many saturated fats. You're going to see when you're consuming too many processed sugars. And you will make adjustments if you're like everybody else, because we are a lot more similar than not alike. So putting in the reps with diet is simply that. Again, maybe you're not having the greatest day. So you think, well, you know what? I'm going to have a little bit of this more than I usually do. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but keep logging your food, staying with it. Don't just throw it out. Too many people just throw it out. They get inconsistent. They start getting off the wagon a little bit. And then the next thing you know, they say, oh, the hell with it. I'm just not going to track it. Where they would have been better to just get off the wagon a little bit, still log it, make the best adjustment, because we're always going to feel different at another time. We are going to feel better, and we're going to be mad at ourselves if we totally threw it all out just because we had one little mistake. So we put in the reps in our diet as well. So really, we're covering two things here. We have to be cognizant of quality. Absolutely. That's never going to change. Like, same with food. I mean, of course, it's better to have a quality food, such as a whole grain versus a processed sugar. They're both carbohydrates. One of them has greater quality. It's better to have, say, an organic Greek yogurt, non-fat, which is a high quality protein, versus beef. No doubt about it. That is better to do. But we don't throw everything out just because we don't have perfect quality. We keep chugging on and we keep putting in the reps. So the reps is making the best choices we can and logging our food. The reps is going to the gym and doing the prescribed workout to the best of our abilities. The reps is getting up, doing the cardio, even on days we don't feel like it. And again, this can apply to any venture that you're talking about. If you're still in school, the reps is going to be, say, study for an hour a day. If you're trying to improve your intellectual wellness, like I think we all should, like I love to read. I don't, necessarily have a set prescription here, but, some people will say read 10 pages a day. If you're struggling with getting in reading time, just make sure you get in 10 pages a day. I've heard that before. I mean, that's great advice. That is putting in the reps. All right. So we can't be so black and white. It's all qualitative or forget it, or it's all quantitative and hell with how we do it. No, it's gray. It's both. We have to put in the reps and we have to do the best job we can to do it with the best of our ability. But that's where it's going to change. Some days we're going to be 100% spot on. Other days we're going to be a little lazier or just tired, and we're not going to use as much intensity. That's okay. We still need to do it. Do the reps. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening to today's show. I really appreciate it. I want to remind you to please hit automatic download. It really helps me and it helps the show. And now I'd like to thank Overhead Door of Daytona Beach, the area's premier garage door company. They have the best product and the best service. I personally vouch for Jeff and Zach Hawk, the owners. They are great. They're going to get you exactly what you need. So if you have any garage door needs, give them a shout at 386-222-3165. And now I'm very excited to add another sponsor. ProCharge Liquid Protein Enhancer has joined the team. And let me tell you, they are a great product. I pop one after a workout. Each container has 40 grams of protein, so that's 2 servings. I take 20 grams after I work out. What's really cool about them is it's portable. You can throw them in your suitcase. You don't have to worry about mixing powders and making a mess. At least that's an issue I've had with some of the protein powders through the years. And you know what? They taste really, really good. So you can check them out on my website, fittothemax.net, or you can go right to them at prochargeprotein.com.